Hello students, this is your history lesson. Today we are going to read chapter 12, Turkish Muslims conquer northern India from Understanding History for class 6. So we start our lesson. Students, first of all, I will tell you about northern India. What means North Indian? North Indian, the northern region of India comprising the states of Delhi, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Uttaranchal and Uttar Pradesh. I hope you are clear about the northern India. Now have a look on glossary. Invasion, an instance of invading a country or region with an armed force. Ancestry, the family or race where one comes from. Mongols. Mongols are an East Asian ethnic group native to Mongolia, Inner Mongolia in China. Emerged, arose, came up, raided, to attack a place suddenly. Patronage, a reason for doing something. Ulema, a body of Muslim scholars who are recognized as having specialist knowledge of Islamic sacred law and theology. Fabled, famous, seized, take hold of suddenly and forcibly, decisively, in a manner that settles an issue convincingly or produces a definite result. Heir, a person legally entitled to the property or rank of another on that person's death. Assassinated, murder, an important person for political, religious reasons. Patron, a person who gives financial or other support to a person, organization, or cause. Dynasty, a line of hereditary rulers of a country. Acknowledged, recognized as being good or important. Retreat of an army, withdraw from enemy forces as a result of their superior power or after a defeat. Incompetent, not having or showing the necessary skills to do something successfully. Monarch, a sovereign head of state, especially a king, queen, or emperor. Intrigues, arouse the curiosity or interest. Fleeing, run away from a place or situation of danger. Revolts, take violent action against an established government or ruler, or we can say rebel. Rebellious, showing a desire to resist authority, control, or convention. Bilingual, having or expressed in two languages. Controversial, causing disagreement or discussion. Now come to page number 62 from your book and start reading and understanding more about Turkish Muslims conquer northern India. For nearly 300 years after the conquest of Sindh by Muhammad bin Qasim, there was no Muslim invasion of the subcontinent. In the 10th century, India was invaded again by Muslims, not the Arabs, but the Turks who came from the northwest through the Khyber Pass to conquer and later establish their rule in India. The Turks replaced the Arabs. The Turks was a Central Asian tribe whose ancestry goes back to the Mongols. They were nomads who traded in wool, leather, carpets, and horses for wood, silk, vegetables, and grain. They were conquered when Muslim armies swept across that region, mainly during the era of the Khulafai Rashidin, Razia Ta'ala Anhu, and then the Umayyad rule. Most of the Turks were captured and sold as slaves. They gradually converted to Islam. Their nomadic culture was later influenced by that of the conquering Arabs and the highly civilized Persians. Some of these slaves became part of the armies of the Khalifas and Muslim nobles, and by the ninth century were commanding their troops in battle. As the Abbasid rule weakened, Turkish officers gained more power and control and carved out kingdoms for themselves. In the 10th century, many independent Muslim states emerged in Central Asia and their rulers took the title of Sultan. One of these was Subuktagiin in Ghazni, the founder of the Ghaznavid Sultanate and father of Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni. So, students, in the 10th century, India was invaded again by the Muslims who were Turks. Turks belonged to Mongols who were nomadic and were famous for trade. During the reign of Khulafai Rashidin, they were captured and sold as slaves. But within the passage of time, they were influenced by the conquering Arabs. They became part of army, and as Muslim power weakened, they gained power and controlled kingdom. So in the 10th century, many independent Muslim states appeared in Central Asia and their rulers took the title of Sultan as one of the famous rulers was Sabaktagiin in Ghazni and he was the founder of the Ghaznavid Sultanate. Mahmoud of Ghazni 998 to 1030. In the 11th and 12th centuries, these Turkish sultans extended their territories and invaded India from the northwest through the Khyber Pass. Mahmud, the Ghaznavid Sultan, expanded his kingdom up to Isfahan in the west and to India in the east. He made 17 invasions into India, including one against the Shahi kingdom in the north. His lightning attacks were to gain the wealth of the subcontinent. He raided Mathura, Thansar, Kanauj, Nagarkot, and finally the temple city of Somnath. He collected and took gold and jewels and Indian artisans back to Ghazni. The conquered lands were left to be ruled by his appointed governors. Mahmud also enlisted local people and Hindus in his army. He made Ghazni into a beautiful city. Many madrasas, mosques, libraries, gardens, hostels for travelers, and bridges were constructed. Mahmud is also known for his patronage of art and knowledge. Famous scholars, poets, and artists gathered at Ghazni. The physician, philosopher, astronomer, and historian Alberoni and the great Persian poet Al-Firdausi were two eminent, famous scholars at Mahmud's court. He brought entire libraries from the Persian cities of Ray and Isfahan to Ghazni. Students, Mahmud Ghazni was the son of Abu Mansur Sabuktagiin, who was a Turkish slave soldier. Mahmud of Ghazni was one of the undefeatable military commanders of the world. He attacked South Asia 17 times successfully and went back to Ghazni every time with a great victory. Mahmud of Ghazni destroyed important Hindu shrine Krishna temple. Mahmud of Ghazni destroyed and looted one of the most sacred temples of Hindus, Somnath temple. Mahmud became the sign of respect and bravery for South Asian Muslims and he is considered as their hero. Historians and Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud of Ghazni has been a controversial figure in history. Controversial, causing disagreement or discussion. Romela Thapar, an Indian historian, has lately proved from Sanskrit sources that Mahmud did not destroy the temple of Somnath, although he did break the huge idol for its treasures. There are differing opinions among historians about Mahmud of Ghazni's motives for invading India. The first opinion is that Mahmud of Ghazni did nothing but destroy places and Hindu temples and take away the riches of India. Some historians say that Mahmud was a brave general and great ruler and politician who laid the foundations of a large empire in Central Asia, while some write that the aim of his conquest was to spread Islam. Yet other historians say that the reason for his invasions of India was to take its wealth and use it to set up an empire in Central Asia. This proves why Mahmud did not include Indian conquests in his Central Asian empire, with the exception of Punjab and the northwestern region of present day Pakistan. So, students, there are different points of view about Mahmud of Ghazni's attack on the temple of Somnath because he is famous for the invasions on the temple of Somnath. He attacked on the temple for 17 times. Some says he did nothing but destroyed to take away the treasure of India. Some says he wanted to spread Islam. That's why he broke idols in temples. Some are of the opinion that he wanted to take wealth to establish an empire in Central Asia. Alberoni 970 to 1030. Abu Rehan Alberoni had come with Mahmud of Ghazni to India. He stayed on and learned the Sanskrit language and about Hindu religion and philosophy. His Kitabul Hind is an informative book that tells us in detail about the geography and history of India and its Hindu beliefs and customs. It is still widely read to this day. Students, Al-Biruni was a famous scientist of the Islamic world. He was a great writer who wrote more than 150 books on various aspects of life, including mathematics, physics, astronomy, geography, archaeology, history, geology, biology, chemistry, etc. So his books are still famous and widely read today. Ferdowsi's Shahnama. In the Shahnama, Ferdowsi writes about the ancient history of Iran from the time of the creation of the world up into the Islamic conquest of Persia. Although it has many heroes, the real hero is Persia itself. This book has given a lot of pride to the Iranian as a nation. The book is in Persian, but it has been translated into other languages too. Ferdowsi started to write the Shahnama or Book of Kings in 997 and completed it in 1010 during the reign of Mahmoud of Ghazni. The Shahnama was a source of introducing Persian culture and language to India and encouraging Indian Muslims to adopt the Persian lifestyle. Under the sultans who ruled after Muhammad of Ghazni, Persian became the court language and Arabic became the language of religion only. A far-reaching effect of Mahmud's invasions was that the whole developed into an impressive city. Many scholars, poets, ulama, and Sufis came and settled here. Sultan Mahmud died in Ghazni on 30th April 1030. Despite his fabled wealth, he is buried in a simple tomb in Ghazni. His empire continued for another 156 years after his death. Here, fabled means famous. Students, Shahnama is a long epic poem written by the Persian poet Ferdowsi for Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni and is the national epic of Greater Iran. Shahnama is one of the world's longest epic poems. It tells mainly the mythical and to some extent the historical past of Persia or Persian Empire from the creation of the world until the Muslim conquest in the 7th century. Muhammad of Gaur 1187 to 1206. Over 100 years after the death of Sultan Mahmud and the breakup of his empire, Ghazni was captured in 1173 by Shahabuddin Muhammad from the state of Gaur in Afghanistan. The Ghurid Turks were also of Central Asian nomadic background. In 1186, Muhammad Gauri became the ruler of the Ghurid dynasty. In the same year, he, along with his able general Qutbuddin Aibak, invaded India and seized the Muslim towns of Lahore, Multan, Uch, and Peshawar. Here seized mean take hold of something suddenly and forcibly. Whereas Mahmud of Ghazni raided India but did not stay there. Mahmud Gauri added his conquest to his kingdom. To establish his rule over the rest of northern India, he had to fight the Rajputs led by Prithvi Raj Chauhan, the ruler of Delhi and Ajmer, and other Hindu leaders who combined to defeat him at the Battle of Tehran in 1191. The next year, 1192, Muhammad Gauri attacked India again to avenge his loss, and he defeated Prithvi Raj decisively in the Battle of Tehran in 1192. Muhammad Gauri returned to Gaur but left Qutbuddin to govern the empire from Delhi. Qutbuddin Aibak had to continuously face the stubborn resistance of the Rajputs who refused to surrender their land to the Muslim rulers. Since Muhammad Gauri had no heir, he used to say that his slaves would inherit his empire. In 1206, when he was assassinated near Lahore, Qutbuddin Aibak became the first sultan of the Mamluk slave dynasty, established in Delhi, which ruled India for the next 84 years. Prince Shahabuddin, also known as Mahmoud of Gaur, was the Sultan of the Ghorid Empire. He is credited with laying the foundation of Muslim rule in the Indian subcontinent and lasted for several centuries. Qutbuddin Aibak and the Mamluk dynasty 1206 to 1296. In Arabic, Mamluk means slave, a person owned by another. The Mamluk or slave dynasty was named as such because Qutbuddin, born to Turkish parents, was sold off as a slave when young. When he joined the army of Gaur, he rose in rank and became a general. As the Sultan, he proved to be a wise and just ruler. He treated the Hindus with kindness and left the local administration in the hands of the people. Qutbuddin Aibak built two mosques, the Quwwatul Islam Mosque at Delhi and another on at Ajmer, and he began the construction of the Qutb Minar, dedicated to the patron saint of Delhi, Qutbuddin Kaki. The institution of a group of nobles called the Forty developed at the court of the slave sultans. The Forty supported and helped an sultan to protect the dynasty, but they also became powerful enough to decide who the next ruler would be. Qutbuddin Aibak ruled only for 4 years. He died in an accident while playing polo in Lahore and is buried there. Prince Qutbuddin Aibak was a general of the Ghorid king Mahmoud Gauri. He was in charge of the Ghorid territories in northern India. He belonged to the slaves but got position in army of Gauri and proved himself as a general. Within the passage of time, he proved himself as a justice ruler also. Iltutmish 1211 to 1236. Qutbuddin Aibak was succeeded by his son-in-law Shamsuddin al-Totmish, who was invited by the 40 nobles to take over the throne of Delhi. In his 24 years in power, Iltutmish had to continuously fight both Muslim rulers and Rajputs to establish his authority. However, he did succeed. He set up a good administration with proper taxation and officials appointed for the task. He completed the Quwwatul Islam Mosque and Qutb Minar began by Qutbuddin Aibak. Built a college and many roads for which forests had to be cut down. Iltutmish is acknowledged as a remarkable ruler and his kingdom was recognized by the Abbasid Khalifa of the time. Acknowledged, recognized as being good or important. In 1221, the Mongols, a furious Central Asian tribe, furious, fearful, who were known for murder, loot, and destruction, appeared on the banks of the river Indus. They were led by Genghis Khan, but before an invasion could take place, they decided to retreat because of the heat of India. Retreat means of an army withdraw from enemy forces as a result of their superior power or after a defeat. So, students, Iltutmish was the third of the Mamluk kings who ruled the former Ghorid territories in northern India. He was the first Muslim sovereign to rule from Delhi, and he is considered the effective founder of the Delhi Sultanate. Razia Sultana, 1236 to 1240. When Iltutmish died, his son Ruknuddin Feroz succeeded him, but he proved to be an incompetent ruler. Incompetent, not having or showing the necessary skills to do something successfully. The nobles asked his daughter Razia to take the throne. She had mastered the art of government and leadership under her father and had all the qualities of a monarch. Monarch, a sovereign head of state, especially a king, queen, or emperor. Unfortunately, the intrigues at court made her position weak. Intrigues arouse the curiosity or interest. Finally, she married Altunia, the governor of Bathinda, and marched on Delhi to retake it. She was defeated and was killed along with Altunia by outlaws when fleeing from the battlefield. Fleeing, run away from a place or situation of danger. After a number of weak rulers, the 40 nobles decided to put Nasiruddin Mahmud, Iltutmish's youngest son, on the throne. He proved a good sultan who ruled well for 20 years, 1246 to 1266, supported by his able deputy, Balban. Nasiruddin encouraged learning, set up colleges, and respected saintly people and scholars. Baba Farid, Ganje Shakar, and Sheikh Bahaduddin Zikriya were two notable Sufi saints of Nasiruddin Mahmud's time. Students, Razia Sultana was a ruler of Delhi Sultanate in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent. She was first female Muslim ruler of the subcontinent and she is the only female Muslim ruler of Delhi. Razia was challenged by a section of nobles, some of whom ultimately joined her, while the others were defeated. Balban, 1266 to 1286. When Nasiruddin died, Balban became the Sultan. He had proved himself as a capable administrator as well as a military leader by successfully driving back the Mongols from the Punjab. As Sultan, he first strengthened the army to keep the Mongols away, crush the revolts, and control rebellious nobles. He also reduced the power of the 40 as they had started to challenge the Sultan's authority. When the governor of Bengal, Toghrel Khan, revolted, Balban personally led the attack against the re- rebellion in which Toghrel Khan was killed. The Sultan had to face further attacks by the Mongols, and his son Muhammad was killed in one such attack. Balban did not survive long after his death. Son Balban's wise and capable role made sure that the Mongols were kept in check. He had forts built to protect the Sultanate against them. Under his rule, the Delhi Sultanate flourished and became the foremost Muslim kingdom of its time. Education was encouraged. He gave large sums of money to Islamic scholars and men of learning, and the great bilingual poet. Bilingual mean having or expressed in two languages. Amir Khusru, who wrote in Persian and Hindi, lived during his reign. Balban also helped Sayyid Mora to set up a college with a free hostel for students. Students, Balban was the ninth Sultan of the Mamluk dynasty of Delhi. Balban belonged to the famous group of 40 Turks, slaves of Iltutmish. In spite of having only a few military achievements, Balban reformed civil and military lines. Now come to the questions. Question 1. Why was the first sultans of Delhi known as the Slave Dynasty? Answer. The Turks were a Central Asian tribe whose ancestry goes back to the Mongols. They were nomads who traded in many things. They were conquered when Muslim armies swept across the region, mainly during the era of the Khulafai Rashidin, Razia Sultana, and then the Umayyad rule. Most of the Turks were captured and sold as slaves. They gradually converted to Islam, and some of these slaves became part of the armies of Khalifas. And by the ninth century, were commanding their troops in battle. As the Abbasid rule weakened, Turkish officers gained more power and control and carved out kingdoms for themselves. In the 10th century, many independent Muslim states emerged in Central Asia and their rulers took the title of Sultan. Question 2. Why did Mahmud of Ghazni invade India? Discuss the reasons for your answer. Answer. In the 11th and 12th centuries, these Turkish sultans extended their territories and invaded India from the northwest through the Khyber Pass. Mahmud the Ghaznavid Sultan expanded his kingdom up to Isfahan in the west and to India in the east. He made 17 invasions into India, including one against the Shahi kingdom in the north. His lightning attacks were to gain the wealth of the subcontinent. He raided Mathura, Thanesar, Kanauj, Nagarkot, and finally the temple city of Somnath. He collected and took gold and jewels and Indian artisans back to Ghazni. Question 3. What are the different opinions of historians about Mahmud of Ghazni? Answer. There are different or differing opinions among historians about Mahmud of Ghazni's motives for invading India. The first opinion is that Mahmud of Ghazni did nothing but destroy places and Hindu temples and take away the riches of India. Some historians say that Mahmud was a brave general, a great ruler, and politician who laid the foundations of a large empire in Central Asia, while some write that the aim of his conquests was to spread Islam. Yet other historians say that the reason for his invasions of India was to take its wealth and use it to set up an empire in Central Asia. Question 4. What is the importance of Kitabul Hind? Answer. Kitabul Hind by Alberoni is important because it is an informative book that tells us in detail about the geography and history of India and its Hindu beliefs and customs. It is still widely read to this day. Question 5. Who was the Shahnama? What important role did it play at that time? Answer. In the Shahnama, Firdausi writes about the ancient history of Iran from the time of the creation of the world until the Islamic conquest of Persia. Although it has many heroes, the real hero is Persia itself. This book has given a lot of pride to the Iranian as a nation. The book is in Persian, but it has been translated into other languages too. Ferdowsi started to write the Shahnama or Book of Kings in 997 and completed it in 1010 during the reign of Mahmoud of Ghazni. The Shahnama was a source of introducing Persian culture and language to India and encouraging Indian Muslims to adopt the Persian lifestyle. Under the sultans who ruled after Mahmud of Ghazni, Persian became the court language and Arabic became the language of religion only. Question 6. Why did Razia Sultana lose the throne? Answer. When Iltutmish died, his son Ruknuddin Feroz succeeded him, but he proved to be an incompetent ruler. The nobles asked his daughter Razia to take the throne. She had mastered the art of government and leadership under her father and had all the qualities of a monarch. Unfortunately, the intrigues at court made her position weak. Finally, she married Altunia, the governor of Batinda, and marched on Delhi to retake it. She was defeated and was killed along with Altunia by outlaws when fleeing from the battlefield. Question 7. Who were the Mongols? Why did they invade India? Answer. In 1221, the Mongols, a furious Central Asian tribe who were known for murder, loot, and destruction, appeared on the banks of the river Indus. They were led by Genghis Khan, but before an invasion could take place, they decided to retreat because of the heat of India. Question 8. What were the effects of the Mongol invasions on the Delhi Sultanate? Answer. The impacts of the Mongol invasions in Delhi Sultanate are as follows. Mongol attacks on Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. This forced the Delhi Sultanate to increase their army base. Due to the increased army base, the administrative expenses increased because of the strength of the soldiers, and they had to pay comparatively more salaries to the soldiers. The Alauddin Khilji created garrison town for the soldiers to live, whereas Muhammad Tughlaq emptied the garrison towns from the soldiers. The financial burden on the Delhi Sultanate led to the imposition of heavy taxes on the peasants. Question 9. Who were the 40 and what role did they play during the Slave Dynasty? Answer. Iltutmish organized a group or corps of 40 selected emirs who were originally slaves during his reign. They were appointed on key posts in the military and civil administration. They were his chief advisors. They were his ears and eyes as well. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.